Good evening, everyone. Happy New Year and welcome to the January 6th, 2021 meeting for the City of Murfreesboro Planning Commission. We will call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum present today. Our first item of business is to approve the minutes of the December 7th, 2020, December 14th, 2020, and December 16th, 2020 Planning Commission meetings. Did anyone have any changes, additions, or corrections to the minutes that were submitted? And if not, we'll need a motion.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, public hearings. We have one public hearing tonight. We have an annexation plan of services and annexation petition for approximately 5.5 acres located along Gresham Lane. Alcorn Properties, LLC is the applicant. Ms. Rush, good evening.
Good evening, Chair Jones, and Happy New Year to the Planning Commission. The item before you this evening is to conduct a public hearing on the requested annexation petition and plan of services. The property is located along the west side of Gresham Lane, just north of Franklin, between Claremont Drive and Miranda Drive, as shown on the map. It is 5.5 acres in size and is currently developed with a single-family residence and the stormwater management pond for the Glendale subdivision. It's located within the Murfreesboro urban growth boundary and is contiguous to the city limits along the east property line, which is the Gresham Lane public right-of-way. There is no zoning requested per the Murfreesboro zoning ordinance, section 17. Land that is zoned in the county as agricultural or residential shall be zoned RS-15 upon annexation when there is no zoning requested simultaneous with the annexation. So therefore, this would default to an RS-15 if it is so annexed. The property owner, Alcorn Properties, LLC, which is represented by Mr. David Elkhorn, is wishing the property to be annexed into the city to allow for subdividing the property into 7 lots. 6 of the lots would be a minimum of 15,000 square foot in size, and the 7th lot would contain the storm drainage pond and be approximately 3.3 acres in size. As discussed in the agenda staff report, the property is the stormwater management area for the Glendale subdivision, and the majority of the parcel is encumbered with the drainage easement. Any future development will require an engineered design for the existing and development and related to storm drainage, and an easement consistent with the new design. There is currently a restrictive covenant on the property that prevents its subdivision. The applicant has stated that he is in the process of obtaining signatures from the adjacent property owners in the Glendale subdivision in order to be able to subdivide the land. He's here this evening and he'll be able to give you status of those signatures that he's obtaining. Staff has prepared a plan of services which was included in the agenda packet. The city can provide services to the property in its current state, as well as if it was to be developed with 7 lots for residential. In addition, the benefits to the city for this property to be annexed was analyzed, and staff has determined that the traditional single-family units is something that is desirable for the city. These are things that we are looking for more product in terms of housing for the city in single-family detached. The stormwater management area would be improved with annexation and subdividing, which would benefit the downstream as well as the property amount of stormwater that's going to the site. The property is adjacent to the city's right-of-way and can easily be extended city services for police, fire, and solid waste. The property would be required to participate in the cost of construction of the road improvements along the property frontage in accordance to city standards. So there would be monies that would be provided in lieu of for those street frontage improvements. And future residential zoning and development of the 15,000 square foot lots is consistent with the sewer allocation ordinance, as well as the 2035 comprehensive plan for this area. As I indicated, the property owner and his engineer, I believe, is here this evening that can answer questions and present on this item. The staff is asking that you conduct a public hearing, after which discuss the item and formulate a recommendation to the City Council. I'm happy to answer any questions on behalf of staff.
Okay, any questions for Ms. Rush before we Open the public hearing.
And Madam Chair, I do believe that Mr. Alcorn has a few words that he would like to say as well
Absolutely.
before the public hearing.
Before the public hearing.
I
Okay?
should specify Mr. David Alcorn.
Yes.
Okay.
Both Mr. Alcorns are here.
Multiple Mr. Alcorn.
Multiple Mr. Alcorns. But David, please come forward.
Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is David Alcorn, the younger of the Alcorns present, the least of us, too. I wanted, Ms. Rush kind of mentioned the things that I wanted to say, but I wanted to, we've owned this property a little over a year and a half, and we were going to start this process probably a half a year or so ago. And just the events of getting the neighbors together, which we had attempted to do at the Ag Center 3 different times, just it didn't allow us to gather. So we have, we're asking just for annexation, not for rezoning. And like she said, it is a few things for the benefit of the city. We would be participating in road construction of Gresham. It is an area that is already serviced by the city services. This lot is unique as far as part of the Glendale subdivision. It's referred to as the basin lot. No formal detention area was created when this subdivision was created 30-some years ago, or I think 1986. So it was just the lay of the land, and it's what we're looking to do is have it with the civil engineer and then approved by the city planning or city engineering, an actual detention pond. With that, it will also help improve some drainage north of this property that's down near the Ag Center. We'd also be at a RS-15, no rezoning. This is a 1.25 units per acre as far as for the sewer allocation, and it will add 6 homes. There's already an existing house there. The 6 houses that would add what we've told the neighbors that we have talked to, 1,800 square foot minimum, and that is a minimum. With the cost of infrastructure and such like that, it'd probably be much more than that. 4 sides brick or hardy, so they're not vinyl boxes, and side entry garages, so there's not direct access backing out onto Gresham. So I think there'd be 6 homes plus the existing home, adding a larger style home also fit very well into the neighborhood. Back to the neighborhood restriction, we are making great progress in getting lot 57, this basin lot, removed from Glendale. What we've done in lieu of a meeting that we try to do, we did send out a letter. We explained exactly what we were doing, and then the concept that we want to bring forward later on as with the 6 lots, we've sent to everyone. And I gave them all my cell number to call me, and let's discuss. I've had a few call. Of course, then since then, we've also made a few visits, and pretty much everyone that we have talked to is understanding. Of course, a lot thought apartments, they thought townhomes. After we explained single-family houses, just like the neighborhood, the ones we talked to were all okay with that. But we'd appreciate you considering annexing this lot into the city. Thank you. Any questions?
Y'all have questions for Mr.
And
Alcorn?
Nathan Melson with CIA is here to answer any of the drainage questions that we might have too.
Mr. Alcorn, I believe we have a question.
Has the drainage been designed yet, or is that still a work in process?
That's what we have is the concept.
Okay.
The design hasn't been completed, no, sir. What we have right now, though, is, and even for the Glendale residents would know this, and the ones that we've talked to, it's just how the ground is naturally laid, and we get those high water marks, seems like in February of each year, and then it drains in 2 spots, and then it gets in that little bowl stuck, and it starts draining back. And we've had some folks over on Sharondale that actually their yards get flooded because it backs up that direction, and this would correct all those issues.
And Mr. Alcorn, on the subdivision restriction, does it require a majority of the
It does.
residents? Just a majority, not all or
No, ma'am.
90% or anything like that, a majority? Okay,
We have a few more signatures.
okay. And so how many residents are in the Glendale?
57, there's 57 lots of Glendale, so 29, 28 and a half, but we haven't been able to find that half signature yet.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for Mr. Alcorn or his engineers? Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
So we will open the public hearing. We will ask anyone to come forward that would like to speak. If you would like to speak, please come forward and state your name and your address. Please make all your comments directly to the Planning Commission and not to other members of the audience. And so you also would need to keep any comments to 3 minutes or less. So if we have anyone tonight that would like to speak on this item, please come forward to the podium. We will open the public hearing.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Jay Pugh, and I live at 2342 Miranda Drive. And if you look at the map that was sent to us, I have a couple of questions. Not that particular map would be, I don't know if we have that one. Or we
It's on
can
there.
put that up on there. Yes, thank you. So, if you look at the drainage, where it comes into the pond, if you go across Miranda Drive, that's actually the area where I live. And we've had flooding there multiple times because this is not really a holding pond. And what I want to know is, the way it is now, I guess it was just a dugout area, possibly, when the subdivision was built. We moved there in '89. And how was there drainage from a smaller area going
You
to
can make your
compensate for the bigger-
comments to us and
Sorry.
we'll make.
How was the
notes.
drainage for the smaller area going to make up for the bigger area that we have now?
Okay. And do you have other questions?
Yes, I do.
You keep going.
Oh,
And
okay.
we'll address everything
Thank you.
after the public hearing.
All right.
Thank you.
The second is, looking at that same map, where is the entrance going to be? Well, since we were told that each of the houses will have a side garage, so each one of those is going to pull out on the road? Or will there be one other little area that they'll pull out, everybody will pull out of? You
These,
see what I'm saying, where there's a,
yeah, this plat is showing individual. Each.
Everybody would just
like-
pull
Just
directly
like at your
onto-
house. You
Okay.
pull right out onto the road.
okay. The third question that I have is, we have, across from there, we've had, I guess those are condos that were added right across from there, a whole bunch right in that area. So we have those houses, plus we'll have these added, plus we just opened up Miranda Drive not a year or two ago before. We have lots of traffic right there. This road is still basically a county road. It's not been improved since the city has annexed the road and over. We've not done anything to it, so we're adding more traffic, but I don't see any improvement to the road. And those shoulders out there, you're right on the shoulder. I mean, the white line, there's nothing there. You go directly off into the grass and the ditches and things. So I was just curious about those three things,
Okay.
if they'd been addressed or how they could be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here tonight. Anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, we'll close the public hearing, and we do have a couple of items to address to answer his questions. And Ms. Rush, do you want to address any of the drainage-related questions, or would you like us to have Mr. Alcorn to come up and address those, or and the road issues, or we might?
We'd like to ask the project engineer, Nathan Melson, to please
Okay.
address the drainage.
Absolutely.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nathan Melson with Civil Infrastructure Associates. David brought this project to me as I said, about a year and a half ago. And to answer the question of the gentleman about making the smaller pond work, I mean, there's multiple ways to do it. First of all, I mean, there's no outlet made or no outlet designed on this pond, so there's no way to release water in a timely fashion. It just builds up until either backs up in someone's yard or it breaks over and goes on down Gresham Lane. So as part of that, I mean, you can make a detention pond smaller than the basin that's currently there, just because we would provide an outlet that would gradually release water and still maintain the same effect as the existing basin would, and not overwhelm any downstream structures or anything like that. The other option is we have room to dig out more area here. Now, what is shown here is just a concept plan, so, I mean, the outline that is shown is not going to be the final look of the ponds, but it can be widened, made deeper, and then adding the outlet structure will prevent the actual pond from cresting or backing up in anyone's yard. So, but as Ms. Rush did explain, I mean, when Mr. Alcorn explained, we would be held to a much higher standard than what the previous pond design was held to. And so, I mean, like, I looked at this earlier today, and currently this basin probably wouldn't handle a 10 to 25-year storm, and we would have to design it to make sure that it meets a 100-year storm while making sure it is not encroaching within a foot of the pads or surrounding elevations of the nearby homes. So we would have to make sure that works before this would be approved.
And can you address anything regarding the way the road frontage will be addressed, at least on your particular, this property? If one of you all wants to address that for the...
That, I don't think, we
gentleman.
haven't gone through the discussions that those type of improvements typically look like, you know, shoulder improvements, that sort of thing. With this property, I would foresee some roadside ditch improvements to make sure drainage is not overflowing Miranda Drive. That's something I foresee just looking at this now. But those are the typical items.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for him before he steps down from the plan? Okay, thank you. What other questions do you all have or need to have answered?
So I got one, Mr. Ives. There's no issue with the chicken or the egg here with respects to us annexing and then Mr. Alcorn not having the signatures in place in reference to subdivide, because he's asking for annexation. If he doesn't get these signatures, that really doesn't affect the city in any way, correct? If that was the end result?
I believe that the staff recommendation is going to be that if this commission recommends annexation, that it will not be taken to city council for action until we have those signatures.
Okay. That answers my question.
It's, just to reiterate, our recommendation and what we had planned on doing was if we will not take it to city council to schedule the public hearing for city council until Mr. Alcorn provides evidence that he has obtained those signatures, which I know he's actively working on. So I think the annexation benefits come upon the development of the property, and to annex it in its current state, the city would not reap the benefits that would be reaped upon the development of the property.
Thank you. Just want to make sure everybody's on the same page.
And with annexation, there's with rezonings, there's kind of a ticking clock, but I think with annexation, there's not that same kind of ticking clock.
Mr. Brumley, your thoughts on the design of the drainage pond?
I don't have a PE behind my name, so I know one gentleman that does here in the audience, Mr. Huddleston, and he may And just to reiterate, there has been no design for the drainage pond right now. We would require Mr. Alcorn and his engineer to submit one if the property is annexed, and he does pursue development.
Evening, Chair Jones, members of the Planning Commission, Sam Huddleston. Mr. Wright, we did meet with Mr. Alcorn and his design engineer and talked about the benefits of this. I'm very confident that with the detailed analysis and detailed design, they'll be able to improve our drainage conditions downstream to help moderate the flows, and as Nathan mentioned, we'll also hold them to a higher standard, so this pond will be over-designed for the future condition with the added 6 lots over what it is today. So it'll do a better, I guess long story short, with the reconstruction and rework of this pond, it'll do a better job at what it's intended to do than it's doing today.
Good, thank you. And I didn't see you over there, I would have addressed.
I was trying to stay low.
Mr. Huddleston, while you're up there, then would you mind going ahead and addressing a little bit more detail on just the improvements to Gresham Lane or any of the road network?
Sure, and we have seen some spot improvements on Gresham Lane. There was improvements at the intersection with John Rice Boulevard. There were improvements added with the Honda project, which is actually a county project but connected to a city street. And then we also saw improvements at Highway 96 and at Almar Knott. So we have seen improvements along Gresham Lane as projects have developed there. Every time that we consider a property like this along a substandard street, we try to apply our street policy, which says that you need to build or participate in the cost of development of improvements to that roadway. And so there's an analysis that staff will need to do with the design team and include our city engineer in determining whether it's better for them to build an improvement here or perhaps to provide fees in lieu of. Our thoughts today are that we would collect fees in lieu of and perhaps use those to add street lighting along Gresham Lane, and that requires an initial investment by the city, and then the city pays for the ongoing operation and maintenance of those lights. And so we had considered adding street lights along this route because it does not currently have street lights. And that's my quick thoughts on the improvements to Gresham.
Thank you very much. Any other questions for Mr. Huddleston before we let him sit down?
And I would also offer that the traffic counts on Gresham are certainly well below its capacity as an existing 2-lane road. A 2-lane road can generally comfortably handle 10 to 15,000 cars per day, and the road's existing traffic counts are less than that, and we don't anticipate them to go over what a 2-lane road would support. Adding a future center turn lane helps us eliminate those left turn conflicts. And here there would be a minor amount of left turn conflicts just because it would just be a single driveway versus an entrance into a larger subdivision where you do create those conflicts for the numerous homes that you would serve there and some of the other interconnected streets that the gentleman mentioned. Those left turn conflicts can create a little bit of a bottleneck at those intersections, and that's what we look at as far as some intermediate improvements before we get this road upgraded to city standards at some point in the future.
Thank you very much. Have other questions and comments from the Planning Commission?
If there are none, I'll make a motion that we approve, subject to all staff comments.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please state aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion passes. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. and Mr. Alcorn, and thank you for being here tonight. Hope we answered most of your questions. Next, that was our only public hearing tonight. Next on our agenda is staff reports and other business.
I have
I
none.
know we have some. Right?
No other business for me tonight.
We actually have an introduction to make.
Oh,
Ms. Holly Smith is our newest employee. She's our principal planner.
Great.
Our second principal planner who has come to us from California.
Great.
Holly most recently worked at the city of Hercules, California. And we are happy to have her. She brings years of experience, and she's already hitting the ground running. Mr. McKnight has already given her some great tasks to work on, and we look forward to her continuing to learn about our department and having her before you in the very near future.
Great. Well, welcome, Holly. We're glad to have you and look forward to seeing you all throughout the year. Thank you. Any other, I was going to say, do we want to make an announcement about an upcoming meeting?
Thank you, Ms. Jones. I should have prepped you for this earlier, but we are having a joint Planning Commission Council workshop on January the 13th. That's Wednesday of next week. That will be at the new Murfreesboro Municipal Airport Terminal. Mr. McKnight worked in his former career as project development coordinator, worked with that team, and it's a great facility. They were over today working on the final touches of the setup of that room. It's at the business center, so you park, of course, there in front, and the meeting will be as you enter the main hallway to the left. I think we've got a sign up there that says Business Center, and we have a very comfortable business center and conference room back there with full AV capabilities. And so the meeting, as many of you we've already discussed, to introduce the items will be a discussion of the sewer allocation ordinance, and then a follow-up discussion on I think maybe more visioning for the city moving forward with land use and development. It'll be facilitated by staff, but we're expecting to engage the Planning Commission and the Mayor and Council in discussions on some questions that have been already posed to you, and I think should be sent out to you by email to help prime that discussion. We'll have lunch for the party, and lunch will be available at 11 o'clock. The meeting, we'll try to get the meeting started at 11:30. We'll have a separate place to eat your lunch, and then we'll move into the Business Center conference room at about 11:30 to get that started. I expect maybe that about an hour and a half of discussion. Sewer allocation ordinance, we're anticipating in that annual update about 30 minutes of discussion and questions on that, and then maybe another 30 to 45 minutes of just open discussion really about development policy and land use, sewer allocation ordinance, and other matters that would be at the pleasure of both bodies. I'd be glad answering questions on that.
And so for the people that might be watching, so will that be televised, or will that be via recording later, or so will the public be able to
Well,
see
so
or
we've
hear
got a couple
this
things
meeting?
going on there. I think those are good questions, Ms. Jones. As a public meeting, it will be recorded. We will call both bodies into session and would adjourn both bodies again at the end. So these will serve as official Planning Commission and City Council meetings. We're working to make sure we can broadcast this on Cable 3, and the plan is to broadcast it. I don't want to speak too far yet because I know we've got a couple of details to work out there. We do have limited seating capacity in there, so it is an open public meeting, but we will be dealing with social distancing, and that room can only have a certain number of people in there, so some limited attendance by the public would be great. And then those that also have an interest, check it out on Channel 3 live, or then Channel 3 as a follow-up recording when it be rebroadcast later.
Okay, perfect.
Date January 13th, lunch at 11, meeting at 11:30, and I would expect we should be adjourned by 1 o'clock to 1:30.
Okay. Well, I think that's excellent. I'm excited that the two bodies will meet together, discuss a lot of the big picture issues, and I think it'll be a great opportunity for both the Planning Commission to be able to meet with the City Council face-to-face. It's not something we get to do on a regular basis. I think that's just a wonderful opportunity. We appreciate you all getting this put together for us, get both the City Council and the Planning Commission, make sure we're all start out this next year moving in the right direction together.
Yes, and again, on the sewer allocation ordinance, when that was passed about a little over a year ago, there was a requirement in there for an annual report on that. And so Darren Gore with our Water Resources Department will have a good comprehensive report on where we're at, where we've been, where we're going, and it'll be a great update, and it'll be a great supplement to the training sessions we had back in December. I think it'll be a great opportunity for you guys.
Yes, we've had some great meetings, so appreciate that, Mr. Helston. Any other business we need to address this evening? All right, if not, then we stand adjourned.